Hey everyone, we got Materia Hunter Yuffie yesterday, and today we'll check out how warm she will keep the bench. So let's dive right in. In the base form, she is an LB finisher, 2 hits. In Brave Shift, she's a strong LB tag chainer. Both are Earth locked, so nothing really to write home about. When I say Earth locked, it's still imbuable because she's a physically tapped unit, but you will see and realize why I'm calling her Earth locked. So the two abilities that I pointed her out is her strong Wind Imperil ability, which is kind of, actually, is it Wind ability? Let me just quickly check this out. Actually, it should be Wind. Yeah, it is definitely Wind. Never mind. I can tell from the Japanese name. And then she also has, which I find way more interesting, a 135 Earth Imperil on demand, which is very nice. I like that. Just kind of weird to see that the Wind ability, that is pretty much a copy-paste from Cloud's ability, and does not have morale scaling. Too bad. Would have been at least something. The rest of the kit, it is decent, so to say. What I do appreciate is, in the base form especially, that she has an on-demand 2-stack Mirage for the entire party. Cool stuff. Has the standard JP formula of 150% amplification to the main element, which in her case is Earth. Last 2 turns, effectively 1 turn basically, for the LB. Has that stupid LB fill gauge ability. Has a cooldown ability that can buff her attack. It's only 250, which I find rather insulting for a premium unit, but that's the world we live in. Also, only 30% Earth amplification, 200% LB buff, but the kicker here is this ability is what amplifies her limit burst. It's a limit burst increased by 130x, lasting 2 turns only, meaning 1 turn effectively. You cannot use Tavis's Spirit with this, which is very sad to see, and really narrows down her max burst limit, max burst rotation, and I don't appreciate that much. I find Cloud's kit to be a little bit better than this. But alas, she also has that, what I find rather cool gimmick, that she does not need Titus's STMR, the new Guardian Titus that is, because a passive is that 5 turn 100x LB modifier increase. Good stuff. I like it. I hope that when we get our next premium global unit, whenever that might be, and hopefully it is a physical unit, not another mage unit, that it'll have this passive as well. Also accounting for morale, that'd be cool. On the Brave Shift side, much like in the Final Fantasy VII Integrate, she has a couple of magic abilities. This one of Lightning, Fire, Ice, and Wind. Pretty reminiscent of the game. All four are bolting strike chain frames. Nice stuff. All 4 have the same modifier, 350x. All 4 of them have a 130 Imperil. The Imperil, it's okay. Nothing too fancy, but it's still better than most global units these days, which is kind of ironic. I would say otherwise usually, because global units tend to have 120 Imperils for whatever reason. Also, much better than global units, she does have 200% Omni Killer. Granted, if she's EX plus 2. But still, I wish global units, global premium units in particular, had that too. The LBs. Base form LB, your standard stuff, much like Cloud, she has a huge weapon imperil to her main weapon type. In Yuffie's case, that is a 45% throwing imperil, which is really nice, but throwing weapons aren't meta. 80% defense and spirit break, nothing too fancy. 130 Earth Imperil, which is kind of and 270x Earth physical damage, or if you count for all the modifiers, 400x. In the Brave Shift, it's a little bit better. It's a tag chaining ability, 16 hits. It's still a 130 Earth Imperil, which I find still kind of weird. Why not make it 135? But so be it. Would also ease up her max burst potential, or burst rotation, but we'll get to that. And it's a 300x modifier in total, meaning if you don't count Sylvie, she is reaching 530x modifier with Sylvie, and this is 550x. So pretty much same as Cloud, copy pasta, and this number, keep it in mind or remember it well, because you will be seeing this a lot from upcoming premium JP units. And it all the way goes to Squall, by the way. The Trustmaster, Super Trustmaster, and Vision card. The short story is all three of them are rather eh. The Trustmaster, 75% human Machina killer, which sounds pretty cool for TMR. But when you get to the point that you read that it's only when geared with throwing weapons or fists, this doesn't sound too cool anymore, because neither weapon is used that much at all. It's all about fists and rod. No, it's all about katanas and rods at the moment, and probably for the next foreseeable future as well. The Super Trustmaster is a two-handed throwing weapon, standard variants 1.3 to 1.7x, 220 attack, standard staff, 100% Reaper killer, that is pretty decent, and Yuffie only gains 500 static attack. And the Vision card, pretty much a like for like with Cloud's card, just different killer. She has 100% LB damage, 100% Machina killer, whereas Cloud had, I believe, human, and 500 static attack for Final Fantasy VII units. Also sports 150 base attack, pretty much the same as Cloud's. But I like the scene in the Integrate game when when you're about to face that huge Machina boss. I believe it was a worm type boss, if I remember this correctly. It was rather cool. I liked the fight. It was decent. But yeah, talking about FFBE, neither the TMR nor the STMR are that good, honestly. I just don't see use for them ever. And while the Vision card is nice, it's just kind of not important in our current meta. It's good for her, don't get me wrong, or any Final Fantasy VII unit for that matter, but yeah, we're not gonna use Final Fantasy VII units, so that's too bad. Now let's check out the damage calculation, all of the stuff here. If you want to check it out, pause the video, read it through. Let's check out her build. So this is the build, and yeah, she's not wearing the STMR of Tifa. She doesn't get any benefit or gain any benefit from this, but still gears super easily for anything that's thanks to 200% Omni Killer, basically. So build was Aquatic Insect. It just takes 2 materia slots and Behemoth, and you're Gucci, Tamagotchi even. So yeah, good build, easy to do, has Petrify immunity, all the good stuff basically. So I like building her. I would like to have her. I don't have her sadly, and that's why the max burst rotation looks a little bit different from the last time. Whenever I have a unit, I can screen grab it right from in-game. This time I had to use the preview of the unit from the banner, which is kind of but so be it. So the max burst rotation, you can make this a 4-turn rotation and it works perfectly fine, but if you want to concise, make it as quick as possible, 3 turns is the best you can do. So on turn 1 you want to use Bloodbath, which is her base form limit burst. You then would shift to the Brave Shift, use, and in this order, this is what you get for crossing a ninja. Use Elemental Burst Earth for the 150 amp, and then use Landslide Shuriken to deal some damage. That will include the 150 amplification. It will deal the Imperil first and then do damage, which is nice, so that's somewhat chip damage. But sometimes it may not be that good to do that, especially with Dark Vision bosses being rather squishy, but still, if you want to maximize damage, that's how you do it. Now this assumes that you do have enough LB fill in base or have other means of filling her LB gauge up again within this 2 turn frame. So ideally you would want to use her LB kind of isolated before you get all the drops from all the LB crystal drops, or use any LB fill spells. So that's the whole idea behind this. If you want to stretch this by a turn and somehow use LB fill, you could use, for example, Landslide Shuriken on turn 2 and then use the LB fill. This is what you get for crossing a ninja, and Elemental Burst Earth. Never use Elemental Burst Earth, and this is what you get for crossing a ninja before anything else. Or, yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah. So never use this and then use another turn to buff up. This won't work. Once you use these two abilities, this is for crossing a ninja and Elemental Burst Earth, you have to burst on the next turn, or otherwise your damage falls off a cliff. Keep that in mind. So turn 3, right after these two main cooldowns, you will have to use Art of War, which is a main limit burst in Brave Shift. Alright, now let's check out the damage comparison in Dark Visions. She sits atop with Cloud, to nobody's surprise. She deals good damage, cannot keep up with Cloud though. It's basically, honestly, the reason is that swords, great swords, etc., they scale better than throwing weapons. For example, Cloud's weapon has a max range of 1.75. And Yuffie's weapon has a ceiling of 1.7, as we've seen. And this pretty much explains why Cloud is above Yuffie in this case, because for the most part their attack is rather similar. Cloud has a little bit more attack, which also is the reason why he's above Yuffie. But the main reason stems from the fact that throwing weapon variance is worse than any other type. Well, they're still better than fists, but that's another story. Don't use fists unless you want to use or want to deal sustained damage. But if you want burst damage, fists and throwing weapons are not your main choice. They will always be katana, swords, great swords, bows, axes in particular, hammers in particular. Those are the weapons you want to look at. And daggers. 200 daggers, there's still a few. So yeah, much like Van Harma though, and I really want to point this out, much like Van Harma, she is a spreadsheet hero and she's kind of hard locked to Earth, as we've seen. And if you want to mix elements, she will suffer tremendously in terms of damage. Now, there is one exception to this rule, and it's the Lightning Earth mix, which is perfectly doable with Sylvie, Dagger, and Sakura on the party. That way you gain a huge accompanying Lightning Imperil, Lightning Amp, which is on par then with her own Earth Amp. 150 Lightning Amp, 100 from Sylvie, 50 from the Dagger field. That's Gucci, Tamaguchi. And that's the only way I see this working, but from what I remember, none of the upcoming Dark Vision bosses have that combination of Lightning and Earth. In fact, I don't believe any upcoming Dark Vision boss is even weak to Earth anymore. So that pretty much tells the whole story about how important Yuffie is in this meta. Spoiler, not at all. So, this is for the rating explanation. Also, if you're watching my review for the first time, pause this video, check it out. It's really important to note what each of these ratings entails, because a 1 out of 10 does not mean a unit is necessarily bad. Read this through. And let's check out her rating. With that in mind, it's a 6 out of 10. Slightly worse than Cloud, because Cloud was elementally flexible. And I feel like that's worth already a point. It's also contributing to the fact that Cloud is not hard locked and more flexible to the kind of element that you can use. Especially, you could, for example, go on an ice team with Cloud and that would perfectly work. Ayaka can remove his lightning imbue and he'd be having a 100x or 100% ice amplification, but still boost his LB modifier up to 530 or 550x with Sylvie, and that's perfect. You can do that with Yuffie, and I feel like that's worth a point in favor of Cloud over Yuffie. But still, Yuffie, very high damage in Dark Visions, very easy to get for anything, has strong Imperils. I cannot deny that 135 Earth Imperil and 45 Throwing Imperil are very good, so that's +1. On the other hand, basically no party support. Yeah, I know I mentioned the Mirage was cool and all, but that's pretty much all there is, and that's basically no party support. That's what global units do better, for the most part, if they're Brave Shift. And then, also, I found the TMR and STMR weak, so I deducted a point for this. I didn't particularly include the vision card in here at all, neither on the good side nor on the bad side. I feel like it's just neutral for me personally. Yeah, it has high attack, but it's just a niche case where I don't find it that enticing enough to get one Yuffie at all. So that's why it's neither on the good nor on the bad side. It's just, yeah, it's there, it's cool if you have it, but you won't miss it if you don't have it. And with all that in mind, yeah, Yuffie isn't a bad unit per se. I really do like her sprite, especially the base form sprite, it's super cute. But the truth also is that she is releasing at a time when the Earth meta has come and gone. If she had been released during the time, say a week after Tsukiko's release, she would have been godlike. She would have been on every team, she would have been so good. But now that the Earth meta is no more, she will warm the bench for more than 6 months, because the other truth is we don't have a leader unit for Earth at all right now. This may change in the next weeks, but by that point, Yuffie will be old news. So sadly, she's a safe skip unless you really like her sprite, like I do. You can pull, that's totally okay. I tried to get her, used all my tickets I had, didn't get her, sad face. Maybe I'll off-banner her someday, that'd be cool. But it wasn't meant to be yesterday. And that pretty much closes out today's review. Thank you all for watching. We'll see each other. Bye bye.